Hi, everyone. This is Tracy Malone from NarcissistAbuseSupport.com. Today, I have a very special guest. A friend of mine, Johanna Lynn, is going to be talking about healing. Um, you're just going to be calmed by her voice. She is just so amazing and smart, and the work that she is doing is helping so many people. So we are going to talk about healing after narcissist abuse. So it doesn't matter who your narcissist is, there's this healing part and an acceptance of figuring out what your wounds are. So let's go meet Joanna, and I'll see you on the other side. Welcome, Joanna. It is so good to see you again.
Oh, it's great to be here with you, Tracy.
You are such a leading voice in the healing world, and I just adore you, not only as a colleague, but as a friend. And today we're going to talk about how someone starts to rebuild their life after being abused and not having a voice. So
Yes.
I know we talked about like an internal resistance showing up, and it takes up more space. And how do they move through that?
Yeah, it
Or do you
really
want to describe
does.
what an internal resistance is, maybe?
Yeah, let's start there. Yeah. I think so much about removing ourselves from a marriage or a relationship that has felt the other person's in the lead. We go back to what's familiar. And so that internal resistance is there around, well, this is just what I've known. This is just what my day to day has been. And so while a part of me wants to get out of this, wants to choose freedom and safety and something that feels much more grounded, there's still this place that fears that just because it's the unknown. We're stepping into something we haven't known and haven't lived before. And so there can be a part of us that might even question inside, can I do this? Do I have what it takes to really step out and be on my own and kind of start my life again?
Mhm.
And so sometimes we've got to be honest with ourselves and recognize that will be a part of this journey. Part of identifying, I can't do this anymore. I can't be in this day to day. This has not felt good for as long as I can remember. But what is that step that I need to take that aligns more with what's right for me? And the courage to listen to that inner voice, to let it grow roots, to let it give you the strength to be able to step out and do life in this new way that's, yes, unfamiliar, but has so many rewards on the other side.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And if you think about the internal resistance is it's hard to change. It's hard to make global changes to yourself, especially when you've been abused and sort of subjugated into this role and you don't feel like you can spread your wings, right? Your
That's
internal going, yeah, I don't know if you can do that.
it.
That's too hard. Let's just like keep it status quo and never
Yeah,
change, right?
that's it. And so you've named it so well, Tracy. It's this place of, can I create safety inside of myself?
Mhm.
And sometimes even if we start to look at it as a part of, like, we all know maybe an animal that's been abused, if we've volunteered at an animal shelter, if we've just seen their sort of body language, and to recognize that's part of what happens to us as human beings too. We sort of get worn down, or the courage or the confidence to feel like, I'm just going to go this different path really shifts and changes. So to have that much patience and capacity as you would if you were rescuing an animal that's been harmed, to how can I hold my heart in the same compassion? How can I hold myself with the patience that's going to be required to unfold in this way and allow myself this, I don't know, it's almost like a shaky new path. And how am I going to take my first step on that new path? And knowing that the next step is going to be easier and the one after that easier yet. And just trusting it's that first step out the gate that allows us for some new stuff, good stuff to come in.
Good stuff for sure. And I love your analogy of rescuing the puppy. But, when we think about people who have been with a narcissist, they've been rescuing the narcissist for so
Yeah,
long to
that's it.
apply what you've done to be the rescuer, the fixer, the helper.
Yeah.
Do it to yourself. Love yourself more than anybody else. And
Yes.
find that place where I don't know how I'm going to make this change,
Mhm.
but I'm not going to listen to those internal recordings anymore. I
Yeah.
am good enough. I believe in myself, and maybe I have to believe in myself more or get more confidence, but
Mhm.
it's overriding the programming that we have
Exactly.
from the narcissist.
That's it. It's almost like the attunement that we've had out there to the partner, noticing sometimes before they do what needs to be avoided, what needs to be said, and turning that inward.
Mhm.
Can you notice those inner subtleties of, this doesn't feel good. I don't feel emotionally supported. I'm feeling gaslit, all of the things. Can you take that, noticing the subtleties, and turn it inward on yourself? And that bolsters so much internal support that allows you to make that next step.
Yeah, for sure. I know that when we're talking about someone making this shift, um, from the peacekeeper and I'll do it all and step up. What can happen when they start to make this change?
Hmm. It can feel so unsteady. It can feel so unfamiliar. And to know that that's a part of it, to know that that's actually a good sign. This is different. This is different than what I've known. And it's almost like you want to remind yourself, good. That's exactly what I'm looking for. This brand new, different feeling inside of myself. And to start to trust that as your guide. That
Mhm.
almost the more different it feels, the more we want to celebrate that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too. I think people get afraid
Yeah.
of the shift and then they're like, it's not comfortable. I don't feel safe. I don't, but
Yes,
it is accepting. It's not supposed to feel comfortable because
that's
it is
it.
changing. I'm sure, when we give birth, we don't expect that a baby's going to pop out but we went through that pain and that
That's
was the
it.
reward. The reward in healing the stuff after this is that you become a new person. And that's not like a simple thing. It is
That's right.
doing a lot of patterns. It is, there's a little bit of imposter syndrome with many people going, am I allowed to be that healthy person? I don't know how to be that person, or, I'm
Yeah,
not worthy of that. So again, those go back into some of those recordings that we're
that's
trying to
right.
dismiss.
Exactly. And I think when we understand the brain science that we're literally rewarded for feeling the same way that we felt last week, last month, last year. And
Mhm.
so we're really rebuilding new neural pathways. The I am safe, I am allowed, I am worthy, exactly what the examples that you gave. And so the recognition that building those neural pathways take a little bit of time. It's
Mhm.
almost like the first day at the gym is rough because we're touching on things we haven't built before. But by the time we're in the second and third week, we're like, oh, in a new rhythm. I've got this. This feels great. And to know that there'll be that transitionary time. It's like crossing a bridge that feels a little shaky, but swaying in the wind. And you just have to trust yourself to get to the other side of that bridge.
Absolutely. So when someone's going through this, how do they build trust in their self to get through this because they've been silenced by someone who has been telling them they're not good enough, smart enough,
Yeah.
whatever the things are. How do they begin to trust that voice? Because I think people are afraid of that voice.
Yeah.
Question
I
it.
think a part of it is sort of a cognitive place, which is, oh, this is just how my brain is wired. My
Mhm.
brain is wired to keep me in the familiar, in the same, and that's what's happening here. Okay, I'm breaking out of that shell. I'm going into something new. And so this is a part of what's happening. And I
Mhm.
think the secondary piece includes the body, includes really sitting with the fear, the what if thinking that might want to take us over,
Mhm.
the do I have the courage, those inner questions that come up, and really, as if we're sitting across from them having a cup of tea,
Mhm.
as if we're sitting across from them saying, "You're welcome. I hear you. I recognize this is a part of what's held me back, and I'm listening. And I want to assure you, maybe not today, but I'm working towards it tomorrow." That you give yourself the space and the time, and you're patient with yourself, but
Mhm.
you're recognizing it for what it is. You're calling it out, so to speak.
Mhm.
That dominant voice that you've been living with no longer gets to take the lead. and that you're more concerned and listening to this new voice, this like a little flower that's coming through the soil. We want to clear out the weeds. We want to make sure it's got access to the sunshine. And so we're giving ourselves the space to do just that.
Yes. And when you were describing the gym, not only did I feel guilt and shame for not going, but at the same time, what we're talking about is grace for yourself.
Yes.
You fall backwards. It's not fast enough, or I don't
Mhm.
believe this, or whatever you're struggling with. Give yourself grace to go. Tomorrow's another day. Just like you went
That's
back to
it.
the gym, right? I went
That's
back
it.
tomorrow because yesterday I didn't get much. It hurt so much. I was in pain for 4 days.
Yeah,
Went back. It's always just giving yourself the grace to go back.
exactly.
Excuse me.
Oh, bless you. And I think sometimes we tell ourselves this shouldn't be happening. And then it keeps us stuck in a loop.
Mhm.
And so, what if instead we were able to meet that with this is happening? And oftentimes in these situations, we could add on the word again, And so, how do I want to work with it this time? How do I want to engage in my life, in my relationships? And you start listening to that inner voice. You give it space inside of you, and that's where it's got to be first and foremost.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. So, how did they begin to connect to these parts of them that were abandoned? How
I
did they?
think yeah, well said. I think it has to start in the quiet moments. So, can you tuck yourself under a tree? Can you lock yourself in the bathroom? Can you give yourself 5, 10 minutes? It doesn't have to be a big bunch of time, but can you find those quiet moments to be able to connect with the scared part of you? Connect with the one who questions, connect with that what if thinking that takes it to the, worst case scenario thought line and simply relay we are taking a baby step today. And maybe that baby step is simply listening to those parts that have felt silenced, that have felt overridden, that you've been trying to not rock the boat inside of a hurricane. And it's just time to get off the darn boat.
Mhm.
Mm,
Exactly. I would thinking as you were saying that, that I think journaling could really help people through this to go,
yeah.
this is what I'm feeling right now. I don't believe it. And then talk to yourself. You're like in the journal, like you're talking to your best friend. You can do
Yes.
this, Tracy. You've got it. Today was a little setback. We'll have
Mhm.
that. It's okay. Let's
Yeah.
keep going. Push yourself by journaling through the experience and going, oh my gosh, today was better than yesterday. Not 100%, but I stayed on the treadmill of this a little bit longer than I did. I pushed just a little harder. As much as I wanted to give up and acquiesce to the beliefs, I fought them. And reward yourself by putting it in writing so that you could track
Yes.
your practice and feel like you are moving and you've got a partner. To me, the journal is a partner. It's a therapist in a book, and you
Absolutely.
oh, and it
Because
comes.
it's reflecting back to you, isn't it? Those wins. Maybe you look back 3 weeks ago and you think, oh gosh, I was really on a good track. Where did I get off that track? So sometimes it can be a correct and continue tool, and
Mhm.
it can be just a great way to understand what's really brewing underneath the surface. Because for so long in these situations, we've been just surviving the day. And now we're trying to unravel from it and make a different path. So we need these self-reflective tools. That's a great suggestion.
Absolutely. I think it's going to help so many people because, we don't use journaling as a tool when you've got narcissists that could read it. So most
Yeah.
people go, I got it, I can't do that. They've read it before and they hide it. And so,
Yeah.
when you're free and you're starting to heal, I think just finding every tool that you possibly can,
Hmm.
read every book that you can,
Yes.
conquer all the things, figure out what your wounds are, because to
Yes.
healing the wounds are much more important than learning that much more about narcissists. I feel fear all the time. Why? How can I solve that? What books can I read? How do I
Yeah.
address that? And when you find it, put it in your journal. Today I realized I have a lot of fear. I'm going to go find a book at the library and
That's it.
promise yourself in the book that you will go find a solution because you saw a wound. Oh my God, that's a vulnerability that could get me trapped by someone else.
That's it. And what I love so much about your suggestion is it's giving priority to the own person's voice, which has been tucked under, silenced. And so there's this space of really reconnecting with the wisdom of that and
Mm.
opening that wide and being able to take action based on what that voice is trying to guide you towards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. Well, let's have you tell us, is there anything that we've missed?
Hmm. I think really just honoring the wild intensity of this journey and how much it can kind of bring us to our knees around really looking at who am I inside of this connection point? What needs to change for me so that I'm not recreating this in a new relationship? What about this dynamic has been familiar? So that's the biggest part of my work, as you know, Tracy, the family imprint. I don't think any of us get entangled with a narcissist for no reason. There's something that feels just so painfully familiar about that. And
Mhm.
so a lot of the times the work that I do with clients leads us back to, yes, we're recreating our life and getting free from this dynamic, but how did I get there in the first place? And really being able to listen to the parts of you where that even felt like a match. You fit together like a puzzle piece with someone and being able to understand why is the pieces of me shaped like that, and
Mhm.
what kind of inner work do I need to do so that I can trust myself again, trust myself in love, but even trust that inner voice that we've been talking about as the guide towards these new decisions that we're making as we step out into life in this new way, as we foster this new way of being.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Mhm.
think what you're saying is absolutely just the lifeline people have to hold on to, right?
Mhm.
It's crucial that you do this healing. I
Yeah.
didn't after my divorce, and
Mm.
I got entangled with another one. He was a
Right.
different flavor. Wasn't
Yeah, yep.
it was everything I didn't want, he wasn't, and it was all a lie, right?
Yet
So
the baseline was the same. God, darn it.
why
Yeah.
I accepted, why did I accept bad behavior? Those
Mm.
are the questions that we start to ask ourselves, not in a blaming way, but in that discovery. You have like I've done your family constellation stuff, and I've done a lot of that before as well. And to me, finding the roots, my father used to say to me, I never understood why you married that guy, my first husband. I just never understood it. And
Mm.
I did the work and I realized I married him because he was my father. It
Exactly.
took a long time. My father even said, Why'd you marry him? He's like, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
But
Because it
there,
was too similar to himself,
and I
too.
was like, Holy
Uh,
shit, because it was all I knew. Right?
that's right.
And
That's
so
right.
looking and digging deep, I mean, the work that you do is so powerful. And I encourage everyone to reach out. We'll put your stuff down below. Do you want to tell us how people can reach you? And then we'll put it down below too.
Absolutely. So it's www.johannalynn.ca. You can find out, there's articles and all kinds of information you can dive in. I think your listeners might be curious about what's been talked about a little more widely, emotionally immature parents. When we grew up with emotionally immature parents, we often partner with a narcissist because, again, there's just this, match that happens. And so
Mhm.
I write a little bit about that on my website as well. And I'm on all the social media sites under my name. And so it's a great way to stay connected and see what I'm putting out.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Every time I talk to you, I just feel like a little bit smarter going, I love that girl. She's just so smart. And
Oh, thank you.
thank you enough for being here.
Great to always spend time with you, Tracy. Thanks.
Wasn't that great? She's pretty darn smart. So I hope that you have learned a little bit about healing. There's so much that people need to do to untangle the wires under your desk after a narcissist. These are your emotional wires. This is the pain that you are holding. And if you don't heal it, like me, you will end up with another one because they exploit all of your wounds. So I hope this helped, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please do. It helps others see my videos and makes me feel like people are out there listening. So I look forward to seeing you, and please subscribe.